Bwana Bidok, naweza kuchangia hapo tafadhali?
Alright. Alafu Sang, alafu Kobe. Alright. Pick it up very quickly, my friend. Daktari.
Asante bwana mwenyekiti. Mimi vile swali lako liliangazia ni lipi linafanyika
vaccine, yes. You know, every country sasa hivi nchi zote zinaenda kushughulikia na mambo ya vaccine, lakini hatujasikia mpango yote ya serikali ya kuweza kusaidia na mambo ya vaccination ya wananchi.
Okay. Kwa hivyo unanisikia bwana Butok?
Nakusikiza ndugu.
Yeah. Okay. Kwa hivyo ulikuwa umetueleza tuangazie vile vinavyofanyika hapa Marekani kwa majimbo na mpangilio wetu ni kama ni upi. Kwa mfano hapa New York tumeathirika zaidi ya robo ya zaidi ya 25% ya wale waliofariki wametokea kwenye hili jimbo la New York. Hapa ukilinganisha kwa mfano na Kenya ni kana kwamba magavana wetu kule nyumbani ni kama wamelala kwa kazi, wamezembea kwa kazi. Ukilinganisha na hapa Marekani, kwa mfano hapa New York, gavana wetu Andrew Cuomo alikuwa mstari wa mbele kumpinga bwana Trump na ule uzembe wa Washington wa serikali kuu, kusema ya kwamba hapa mashinani, hapa kwa majimbo lazima tutilie maanani, na ameweza kuwa mstari wa mbele kwa hivi vita vya COVID-19. Kwa mfano, hivi leo nilienda kufanyiwa utabibu kupimwa COVID-19, manake najitayarisha kufanya safari ya kwenda ng'ambo. Si kulipa chochote. Kama una bima, kama huna bima, si kulipa chochote. Mimi ni mkufunzi, mwezi uliopita pia tulifanywa vipimo. Vyote vilikuwa bure, manake nikienda darasani sitaki kuambukiza wanafunzi na wanafunzi pia wasiniambukize. Kwa hivyo ukiona serikali yako iko mstari wa mbele, serikali yako ya jimbo iko mstari wa mbele, inakufurahisha sana. Hata kama kodi inakupiga kwa cheki, angalau lakini unaona kodi zako zinatumiwa kwa njia nzuri. Ukilinganisha bwana mwenyekiti na magavana wetu kule nyumbani, Ojamong yuko kwa siasa, hapingi uzembe wa serikali kuu. Magavana wetu wengi wamezembea kazi. Ni Kivutha peke yake ndiye ametokea kusema kwamba mambo ya BBI yapigwe kalamu, tusisitize ugonjwa huu unaotuangamiza. Kwa hivyo mimi ningalisisitiza hili jambo la majimbo na magavana lazima wawekwe kipaumbele, manake wao ndio wako karibu na umma kuliko Washington. New York, gavana wangu wa New York yuko karibu na mimi kuliko yule wa Rais Donald Trump. Kulinganishwa na Kenya, kwa makaunti magavana wetu ndio wako karibu na umma kuliko Uhuru Kenyatta kule Nairobi. Kwa hivyo mimi ningalifikiria wapige darubini njia mbadala, waweze kusisitiza ya kwamba serikali kuu lazima ishikilie itilie maanani janga hili la COVID-19 na pesa zirudi mashinani. Jamani, watu wanakufa. Asante bwana mwenyekiti.
Haya Sang, alafu Kobe uwe tayari. Sang.
Yeah, Bas, thank you again for allowing me this opportunity. So I think I'll just give a very quick example of, I work in a healthcare facility here in Johnson County in Kansas. And right now our infection rate is like 12% as of today. But my facility tests all the employees 3 times a week for COVID. Free. We are already planning on how to have the supplies for giving the vaccines to the patients and the employees. And that is just the county trying to do that because of the directions that are given by the governor. But when we see what's going on at home, each hospital has a referral hospital or at least former district hospitals. But we don't see any plans on, okay, let's not concentrate on everything else, but let's just equip this referral hospital or this district hospital here to make sure that they have, they prepare for the vaccine when it gets there. You see, these governors, sometimes they hold their regional blocks. They don't discuss anything to do with whether they're getting the testing or whether they're getting the vaccine. Because if they were actually to put their heads together, put their resources together, they could easily order those things, you know, and prepare ahead of time. Or at least in the event that the money come, they have a plan already. But they don't seem to have that. So that is really the sad situation that we are seeing, you know, and to really have, to insult the Kenyans is to import doctors while you have one at home that can do the job and you're not paying them. And then you bring expatriates and you're paying them exorbitant amounts of money, and we are complaining that we don't have the money, you know. We have money for other things, but not to prepare, you know. Where is the emergency funds that can be directed now towards our hospitals to help plan for the vaccines that do we even know when they will get there? Everybody else is saying, oh, you had our president today here saying, I'm directing an executive order that we'll all get the vaccines first before everybody else gets it, you know. But you don't see ours doing anything. Anaenda kuenjoy vacation yake. So I think we need these guys to be serious, Mr. Bitok. In all seriousness, we're just tired of this. Yeah.
All right. Kobe.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I appreciate the panelists. I appreciate everybody who's actually, you know, contributing. And my biggest problem has been us as the citizens. And I think we have joined the cult of politicians. And politicians, seems that if it's a witchcraft, they must be doing it so well. Because we as citizens, we have never at any particular time focused on what is primary to us. We always focus on what is secondary. And I will tell you an example. When we call public participation in our respective wards, and my respective constituency, I will tell you that nobody is willing. And most of the people who come there, they come for their own benefit, but they never come for the benefit of their regions. So most of the time, when things happen, we are not there, and then eventually we come complain. For example, I was talking to a friend. I used to live in Baringo, and I'm conversant with a lot of things that is going in Baringo. I was talking to a friend of mine who has actually sent me the state of Baringo Referral Hospital. It is so bad. But what was happening on the social media, it was the pros, the supporters and the opposers of both ends were trying to fight to justify what was going on. The current executive who's supposed to be in charge of that hospital is actually looking at 2022. And he has been seen everywhere, in the social media everywhere, canvassing and trying to go for the Senate seat. But that, to him, the state of the hospital is not his problem, and he doesn't care. But you see, when he goes around, he gets the multitude who come support him and tell him, oh, 2022, we're going to vote for you. But the same multitude fails to tell him that the state of the hospital that we are going to is not good. But when you get people who are even paid, even the bloggers who are paid to sanitize politicians and tell us this is good and this is bad, and we give them likes and we support them and all kind of. I think we are probably heading to be a failed state. And most of the time, we look at these politicians, but when they cough whatever they're coughing, we don't like it. We don't condemn it. But we will always clap if they talk about something that is not necessary at the moment. I watched a governor and I watched the former prime minister talking about issues that, if you look at them, the kind of statures they're in and the kind of things they're saying, they don't intertwine. I can say they don't intertwine. So my biggest problem is to wananchi. Can we reverse the role? Can we say that we are going to actually stop these people from telling us rubbish and focusing on better things? Because if you look at it this way, I remember there was one time our good friend Dr. Ojwang wanted to vie, and he told us the ritual within vying for a seat, especially when you go to a political party that has many followers. There is a certain ritual, which we all know that you will never get the right candidate. But again, instead of sanitizing that party, people will make sure that they perfect that art, in the sense that even if you're the best, you will never be voted in. And that is what has happened in Kenya. Our government is so rotten that whoever is there, whether you bring a new person or whatever, the art is perfected. And so it's perfected that is why we are fond of having this deep state, because they want the status quo to remain. And if they have the status quo, a lot of people benefit from that. But this kind of era, the capitalistic life that we're living right now is gimme, gimme, gimme. People don't even care about life anymore. So it is so unfortunate. And I believe that as Kenyans, we should take a different course. I was discussing with a friend, and I was like, all these people want to vie for presidency in 2022. But it's so unfortunate that when you're taking this bus, probably it might not be in a position to move. It is the right time to actually restructure our country and put it in the right place, so that those who are vying for 2022 can have an easy ride. It is like you're traveling from Nakuru. Kenya is like you're traveling from Nakuru going to Nairobi, but by the time unafika Limuru, una branch. Alafu mwingine akichukulia huko Limuru anarudi na Nyuki. Alafu anarudi tena Nakuru. Alafu tena tunaanzia jani Nakuru. So to me, I think we need to actually look at a different way of thinking with all this that is going on. Thank you.
All right. Oseko and then Okello in that order. Oseko, then Okello. Then Dr. Boniface.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Bitok, for affording me this opportunity. I want to agree with Kobe and what he said about the leadership in this country. And I just want to say that the problem is we need to experience a bottom-up kind of approach when it comes to the problem that we find ourselves encountering. The process through which we arrive at leaders, or leaders are elected, is the one that is faulty, and we are the ones to blame. I want to tell you that if you want to win in Kenya politically, you need to have money, regardless of where you get the money from, to give people as handouts, and then you become a winner. That is how the Kenyan electorate determine who's qualified for leadership. There is a difference between idealism and realism. Realism is that you have to give handouts. And even if you got ideas, people don't want ideas, majority of Kenyans. So because that art has been well perfected by those in leadership, or those that want to ascend to positions of leadership, now we got a problem. If we talk of the standards that are set by various county governments across this country, if you go to Kisii County, you go to Kericho, and so on and so forth, you will realize that there are different standards that have been set by quacks who are managing professionals. A doctor goes to class for 6 years, and an MCA who's actually paid more, and who determines, who's gonna get the job and such kind of things, because of the favoritism that we have in this country, that you got to know so and so that you can access a job, even if you're qualified. Having quacks, setting standards for professionals is a big problem. And by the end of the day, whether you are qualified or, being qualified here does not actually add up. You are not the one to set standards. You are not the one to professionally exercise the ideas that you got. So I think that is the problem that we got, and we must, going forward, change how we arrive at the leaders that we elect. But otherwise, should we continue the way we are, we will still continue having the same problem year in, year out, and nothing is gonna change. And these politicians are not there to help us. They are not servants of the people. Take, for instance, when, we had a handshake, and Raila, had a handshake with the president. the first person he remembered is his own elder brother, for nomination. The same thing to Kalonzo. So by the end of the day, we Kenyans are on our own. It is not that they are doing this handshake so that they can benefit us. Even the BBI is not going to benefit us. They are telling us that after every 5 years election, we have chaos and such kind of things. It is as simple as conceding defeat and saying, "I congratulate you, my brother," and carry on. This business of failing to concede, and then you want to bring us the BBI. We spend 14 billion while doctors are dying, addressing a simple act of courtesy, just admitting and conceding defeat and saying, "Congratulations, go ahead," is not going to help us. Thank you very much.
All right. That's what it profound. All right. Okello, then Dr. Boniface, and then Ojwang, in that order. Okello?
Thank you so much. I want to thank you so much first, General Bitok, for making this conversation happen. My thought is that Kenyans should not complain. Doctors should not complain because we built this culture. We've seen this since independence. Kenyans have had many opportunities to really take control of their country, but we've just been clapping for the leaders and letting them take us to any direction that they want. And now we have, a lot of us have traveled and we see how other people are conducting their business, and we want some of that. We want our country to function properly. We want our children to go to school safely. We want our doctors to be safe. We want to have the virus vaccine, to get to Kenya before it gets to other countries. But we've built a culture of, lack of accountability, lack of reliable leaders, lack of responsible people. Even within families are breaking because of this culture that we've all allowed our country to have. Most of us who are in this panel work for corporations here in America. Every organization has a culture. When you're a new employee, they take you through a training that teaches you about the culture of that organization. If you all remember, in each of our families and even in our villages and even in our tribes, we have our culture and our traditions that we have to follow. What is the Kenyan culture that we left behind that we are not working with, that has made us get to this point? For me, as a child growing up, I knew that we were from a country where people loved each other, where my child could go and have a sleepover and even lunch at another neighbor's place without me feeling like they're going to be raped. During this pandemic, so many issues have happened that Kenyans are not even really taking them seriously. If you leave alone the issue of the vaccine and the doctors that are dying, the number of pregnant teenagers and the number of kids who are going to become parents this year as a result of this pandemic is huge. So the problems are compounding, but the leaders are having a party and the people are going to continue clapping for them. So Kenyans really need to look at themselves in the mirror and really take time and transform our entire culture, because our country, look at Ghana today. The announcement of the president that won the election was made very peacefully. The person that lost did it very peacefully, and the citizens were very, very quiet about it. How about Kenya? People are campaigning now already, and priorities have completely been misplaced. So for me, we just need to think about our culture. What is the Kenyan culture that, our values are based on? What are the foundational matters that made Kenya become a country from the very beginning? If we can go back there, which it's being said that the BBI is going to take us there, but there has been so many initiatives that have been brought that have only kept Kenyans even in more poverty than we were. Even if you look at a few years ago, many of us were doing better than we are now. So we really need to question the values of the countries that we live in, but at an individual basis.
All right, wagwan rasta. Asante sana. Naona jamaa nimeona Ojwang amepotea. All right, wacha nipe I think I lined up Dr. Boniface alafu Charles Njogu. Dr. Boniface.
thank you very much once again for bringing me back on board. And I think most of us have really dwelled on a number of political issues that have really influenced whatever that is happening in our country. And basically, let me put it that I'll dwell on the part of the doctors. I want really to talk about the priorities that the government has really lost. And as we discuss here, I want to urge all of us to look for a way and a meaningful way of handling the doctors. One, our doctors take 6 years to do the academic. And remember, for you to be a doctor in Kenya, you understand the logistics. You have to be a performer from the word go, from class 1 all the way to high school, get a straight A, spend sleepless night for you to be called to University of Nairobi. At that time, nowadays they have increased, but at that time it was very difficult. And then, the whole country, you find like how many doctors pass the classes. There are maybe around 100 of them who are qualified now. Guys, let's talk about the priorities that the government should come up with to support the doctors. And that's why I would be very cautious now to tell all of us, we need to come together. It has been very painful this moment, like the doctor we lost. And I'm trying to refer to what the mother was saying. The mother was saying how the boy, an head teacher, realized that the house is performing very well and decided to pick the boy to his school so that he can make the school come into the papers for performing. And all of a sudden we lose a doctor at 28 years. So I would wish that today, as we discuss, and I would be very brief to say that part of the things that we really have to come up with are compromises. Compromises on how to set our priorities well in our doctor's profession. And guys, I know politics, like now the BBI things, those are those testings. They do tests. 2 years to the election, they want to test something so that they can see who will be the president. Even these things will never change anything to common mwananchi. I would wish that as we discuss here today, let's put our priorities right. I want the word priority for me today to be a point of convergence. As we discuss, everybody discuss whichever avenue, let us pool the resources. Like for instance, now I can see where I am today. The government has put the vaccine a priority. Who is going to benefit number 1? Who is going to benefit number 2? And it has organized in a way that everybody will benefit. In the next 1 year, maybe by 2021, August, every person will have gotten a vaccine. So those are the things that in our various places, let's put our strings together to help the government to help its people come together. Thank you for this time.
All right. But Dr. Boniface, other governments, as our good friend who just left said, are focusing on, Dr. Boniface just said, other governments are focusing on the vaccine, ensuring that their citizens get free vaccines. In the country, we've not heard about the government saying anything about how to protect its citizenry or how best they're going to roll out the vaccine thing. What are your thoughts, my good friend Bugwa? Njogu, that's Charles Njogu? Njogu? Charles Njogu amepotea?
Hello.
Yes, Charles Njogu.
Niko.
Haya, tuambie.
Salama. Ndio nilikuwa natoka job.
Serikali zingine zinashughulikia wananchi to make sure that they get vaccinations. In the country, we've not heard anything about the country, the government working on getting us vaccines. What do you think about that? Do we have our priorities right as government?
I always say we get our priorities wrong. Na hii serikali yetu ya Kenya, juu wakati naona serikali zingine zikishughulika how they'll get vaccines for their people. Ours, hata hakuna mtu anaongea kuhusu hiyo. Anyway.
Umepotea, nimeona kuna shida ya network kidogo sijui.
Zile mifugo zako umeweka mahali ukitaka. Unanisikia?
Nakusikia lakini naona video yako is really freezing.
Hello.
Hello.
Let me get some.
Hata tupe mtu mwingine, mbona kuna watu wameweza kuingia pia. Naona kuna haya, sawa, zungumza basi Njogu. Proceed.
Nasema mimi serikali yetu sijui tutafanya nini, lakini they don't get their priorities right. Sasa hii kama sio hii sasa wanastahili wao. This the pandemic in the whole world. Watu wengi wamesimamisha mambo mingi sana ili waweze kuona how they gonna save their people, how they gonna save the doctors. Like now we are losing very young doctors. Na most of them ni specialists. Na hakuna mtu anashughulika. Ni kama unasikia hata wenye tunaangalia kama the leaders. Ukisikia venye wanaongea is like they don't care. Anyway, what I can only say is that siku itakuja tutakuja tu kubadilika.
Haya. Naona Ojwang amerudi. Ojwang, tafadhali njoo. Other governments are focusing on vaccines. Hapa nyumbani serikali hajatuambia ni vipi, mpango gani ambayo iko nayo. Ojwang, kama unanisikiza tafadhali, pick it up. Very quickly. Ojwang.
Oh, yes, sir.
All right. Other countries are focusing on vaccinating its citizens. Back here, we've not had any conversations towards that.
Talk, did I miss something? Sorry.
You disappeared. I'm saying other governments across the world are focusing on vaccinating its citizens. We've not had any strategy from government towards that.
Yeah. I think, sorry, my Wi-Fi failed and I had to use mobile hotspot. I'll be very quick. Let me just point at a list of things very fast in conversation with what I've heard from very able panel. One, we usually remind Raila, some of us who are NASA supporters, that you took an oath of people presidency. So live up to your oath. But it is obvious that this government is driving us the dinosaurus route, which is the extinction. The last main activity that Parliament did was the Jerusalem challenge. And every other politician have been doing Jerusalem challenge. It shows the silliness of the day. If you read The Tale of Two Cities, it was a time of darkness and light at the same time. It was a time of foolishness. And so the Jerusalem challenge has been the main activity actually we have done. Look at when we talk of check and balances, look at Parliament. Most people who sit in those committees are not experts. It is still the majority party that is directly fused and selected by the executive that are in those parliamentary committee. Do you expect any oversight? No. When you talk of unions, this same government have penetrated the union, and the same corruption network cannot leave any system to work. So they have penetrated the unions. For the teachers, we have NAT and KUPPET. They have split them down the middle. For doctors, we have two unions fighting. Where Tuoli is with the BBI, and very ably articulating that the only thing we will allow Kenyans to select is MCS. We'll select for you everything. He's actually the voice of the workers. So it is a very dark time in this country. I've actually realized that anybody who is a little rich or own property cannot oppose this government because there are files ready with KRA to demand taxes. So the only people who can talk are poor, but they are also overwhelmed. And that is why diaspora become very important. And they know what they have done. So that you find that on one hand, us as citizens, corruption is so bad, but when you redistribute it among us, when you now share what you have looted, people have no problem. And it is almost a sanitizing process that nobody minds. So then it becomes a system and a culture. I think that we can talk of, I look at our society as I conclude very fast. There are 6 institutions that are important in every society. Institution of governance. That is weakened or is gone. Regulatory institution, that is not there, the standard you're talking about. Market supporting institutions, that is where we have KEMSA and whatever, and KEBS. You remember KEBS, remember the mercury, sugar, and all that. Institution of microeconomic stabilization, that is largely informal. Institution for social insurance and institution for conflict management. Even the court inherited the law from the executive. So when you see us, what corruption has done is to disrupt proper functioning of every institution in this country. At the same time, corruption has been so normalized that both governance and regulatory institutions has elevated it to an institutional culture. Anybody who works at a higher level, even a doctor, I was talking to one doctor who is telling me that donors will rather come and implement that project directly. So you'll never do anything for your country. You sit there as an advisor in the ministry, you take your salary, you see the cartels. If you like, you can join the corruption, or you are there picking your salary, and you are not helping your country with the profession that you do. I was saying the parliamentary system we have, all those committees are by the majority party. They are misaligned. You find somebody who was a teacher, like Sosion, is in the committee, I don't know, of health. Is he able to really ventilate on the issues? So what we have, as I conclude, I think is a form of violence. Fellow Kenyans, we usually think of violence when we talk of Kibera and we talk of...
Dwang has disappeared again? All right, guys, I think to actually 7 we roll up to the next conversation. And by the way, as we roll out, I want to tell you guys that the body of the late, there's a news I was reading a minute ago, the body of the late Dr. Stephen Moguso still in the morgue over shillings 1 million bill. By the way, mwili bado iko in the morgue because of 1 million bill. 1 million bill. Guys, get serious. All right, kuna story pia hapa. There was a case that was filed by some diaspora guys yesterday. They were planning to stop IBC from collecting signatures. It was thrown out by the court yesterday, and they said they're not going to grant the request to stop IBC from collecting signatures. And the issues that were raised by diasporans were quite diverse, from the fact that they have not been involved in the BBI debate, they have not been recognized in the constitution as voters, their democratic rights have been stumbled on. I don't know, you guys as diasporans, I don't know how you feel about it, so that we can start off from a new topic. We start off all the way from Rama down.
To me, it's very disappointing that even the places where we seek relief for justice, people don't even see that we matter in any way. I don't know, I haven't read the ruling, so I really don't know what are the basis of the judge throwing out the matter altogether. I wish they had given a chance for people to present their opinions or argue the merits of the case, and then come up with a ruling at that point. Really, I can't really comment effectively on the whole case, but one of the things that is coming out clearly is, sorry, diaspora people, you are on your own. We don't recognize you. We don't have time for you. We don't even need you. All we need is for you to send your money, and that's it. Everything else, funga mdomo. But then it's very unfortunate, because now it goes back to what we were talking here before the show started. It's that the people who have been here and have moved back, like my brother Duncan, I know Chris Wamalo, who was in the US for some time and went back, and he still has some shows that he does online. These are the people we may be able to rely on at this point to kind of push and say, hey, we need to recognize these people. We need to have a forum where these people are heard and their views are accommodated one way or the other. By now, if IBC or the government in general was serious in putting in mechanism in place for people in the diaspora to vote, they would have done it. Remember, I gave the example of they could not provide COVID testing to anybody in the village, but all of a sudden, a booklet for collecting signatures was able to be delivered to the most remote place in the country. So we can see clearly where their priorities are, but I don't think we need to give up. We still need to continue pushing. If the judge throw out the case for one technicality or the other, we need to find out what it is, and then hopefully you can be able to refile. I thank the people who filed the notice to the court on our behalf. I thank them very much. I wish there is a way we can contact them and gang up together and find out what's the next plan. So we cannot just sit and watch by and also just talk, and that's the end of it. We need to put some action into place. Just allow me, when we talk briefly, to also to comment on what Dr. Bonifaz said, is how do we address these issues? Talking of the doctors and what they are facing, I remember I said in the beginning is, one, even wish the guy from the doctors organization was here to listen to this. In as much as you're focusing on getting a salary, can you focus on other issues also? Can you focus on these doctors getting hazard pay? Can you focus on them being automatically covered by the national government insurance for their healthcare? Can you focus on them getting their benefits, especially when you're operating in such a hazard, dangerous environment at the moment? It is very sad for me, angry and disappointing that the late Mogusu's body is being held in a morgue because of a debt. I am sure the 1 million is nothing to the government. They can pay that today in the next 1 minute and give this family some peace in this turmoil that they are facing. It is egregious, it is disappointing, and I wish all of us, if you have any contact you have anywhere, please call these people. If you're a politician, let's call them. Let's call anybody. Let's put them out on the blast. Let's use all our social media platforms and our media houses. Let's make enough noise that this family deserves better treatment from the government at the day. And also let us not lose sight of continuing fighting for our rights as Kenyans who happen to live outside the country. We are still Kenyans. No matter where we are going to be, we are still going to be Kenyans. Can we continue to fight for that and don't give up? Let's find other ways to get this going, keep on pushing, and finally, maybe somewhere, somebody will be able to listen to our cries and force the government to do the right thing and what they should have done from the beginning. Thank you.